In 1986, a leather-jacketed antiques dealer with a battered Morris Minor and a gift for spotting fakes arrived on BBC One, and British television was never quite the same again. Fact 1.
Good morning, Mr. Gilbert. How are you today?
Oh, extremely well, thank you, Bigler. Just had the pleasure of making Lovejoy's life a little less comfortable.
The show is based on a series of novels by a man named John Grant, who published them under the pen name Jonathan Gash. What made the books, and later the TV series, so distinctive was that Gash genuinely knew the antiques world inside out. His Lovejoy character wasn't just a charming rogue, he was a walking encyclopedia of forgeries, valuations, and auction house trickery. The novels were sharp, funny, and packed with real knowledge, giving the TV adaptation an authenticity that most crime dramas simply couldn't match. Gash later said he was delighted with Ian McShane's portrayal, feeling the actor had understood the character's contradictions perfectly. The passion for beauty alongside the willingness to cut every corner to get it.
Sorry about the dirty wellies, didn't realise we'd be so formal.
I'm expecting dinner guests.
Fact 2.
As it was nicked, you also owe the man in Cambridge his money back.
Yes, well, if I could get back to the auction and continue my trade, I might be able to do that.
Okay, Lovejoy, but I warn you.
Yes, Chief, I know.
Most viewers knew Ian McShane as the roguish Lovejoy on screen, but what many didn't realise was that he was also the producer behind the scenes. It was McShane who insisted the show be filmed on location in East Anglia, staying true to the spirit of the novels rather than taking the cheaper option of studio sets. That decision gave Lovejoy its distinctive look and feel. The Suffolk villages, the rolling countryside, the real auction houses and antique fairs. McShane has always been clear that without that authentic backdrop, the show simply wouldn't have worked. His dual role as star and producer meant he had creative control that few leading actors of the era could claim.
I have graced your Lubyanka before. Oh, just one thing. Please don't send uniformed cops to pick me up. Hurts my standing in the community.
Fact 3.
Not now, Eric. You're avoiding me, Lovejoy.
Yes, Eric, I'm avoiding you.
The production made its home in West Suffolk, filming across Bury St Edmunds, Long Melford, Lavenham, Sudbury, and dozens of surrounding villages. For local residents, tuning in on a Sunday night was like watching their own neighbourhood on national television. The area became so strongly associated with the show that it was dubbed Lovejoy Country, drawing tourists from across Britain and beyond who wanted to walk the same streets as their favourite antiques dealer. One reporter from the East Anglian Daily Times even accidentally wandered into shot during filming near the Abbey Gate in Bury St Edmunds, ending up as an unplanned extra in a scene he had no idea he was part of.
That's why you found me going down the middle of Market Lane, taking advantage of the natural cover.
Fact 4.
If home is where the heart is, then this is home to me. An auction room. On auction day, when the old ticker beats faster with the slender than somewhere.
One of Lovejoy's most distinctive features was something almost unheard of in mainstream British drama at the time. Lovejoy regularly broke the fourth wall, turning to the camera and speaking directly to the viewer. He would share his thoughts, explain his schemes, and let the audience in on secrets the other characters didn't know. It created an intimacy between viewer and character that made the show feel unlike anything else on television. Today, breaking the fourth wall is common in shows like Fleabag, but Lovejoy was doing it on BBC One in 1986. It gave the series a playful, conspiratorial energy that kept audiences hooked from the very first episode.
I suppose it was just chance that Jane was doing up a cottage while I was chasing flinters. I should have seen the trouble coming.
Fact 5.
It's check. Woolworths used to sell these for threepence before the war. That's about what they're worth now.
Series 1, aired in 1986, was a moderate success, and then nothing. 5 years passed with no new Lovejoy. The reason was a protracted financing disagreement between executive producer Alan McKeown and BBC management that dragged on for years, only resolved in 1989 after a change in personnel. When the show finally returned in January 1991, all 4 original cast members came back and viewers welcomed them as if they had never been away. The 5-year gap is remarkable given how popular the show became in its second run. It's difficult to imagine the BBC today sitting on a successful format for half a decade without either making it or cancelling it entirely.
This weather will keep the punters away. Fewer bids, cheaper prices.
Fact 6.
Who was that?
No idea.
What do you want?
Wanted to know what I was going to tell you.
Did you tell him?
No, but I might have done if you hadn't shown up.
The television adaptation of Lovejoy was scripted by Ian McShane, one half of the legendary writing partnership behind Porridge, The Likely Lads, and Auf Wiedersehen Pet. Having McShane involved gave the show an immediate pedigree and a sharpness of dialogue that set it apart from most Sunday evening drama. His ability to write rogues with warmth and wit was perfectly suited to Lovejoy's world of charming chancers and crooked dealers. It's a measure of his talent that Lovejoy, for all its lightness, never once felt cheap or throwaway. The writing always had texture and intelligence underneath the comedy. Fact 7.
Aren't you going to sell it with the wheels on?
I'm just knocking the rust off.
In those days, it was highly unusual for a British drama to be shot entirely on film on location, like a movie, rather than in a television studio on video. That cinematic approach gave Lovejoy its rich, textured look, but it came at a price. Dudley Sutton, who played Tinker Dill, once described the pace of filming with dry amusement. Getting more than 3 minutes of usable footage in a day was considered a good result, and 5 minutes was practically causes for celebration. A single scene of Eric climbing onto his motorbike outside Lovejoy's cottage took an entire morning to film. That painstaking approach is now standard for high-end drama, but in the mid-1980s, Lovejoy was doing something genuinely pioneering. Fact 8.
No, I want a coat hanger. You know, I've been thinking, if we're going to have to rely on my reputation, I think I should have a title.
When the show returned in 1991, a cost-saving decision was made to film the second series in Oxfordshire rather than returning to Suffolk. The result was immediately apparent to anyone who cared about the show's atmosphere, and it showed. The authentic East Anglian backdrop had always been as much a character in the series as any of the human cast, and without it, something vital was missing. The producers recognised the mistake quickly, and from Series 3 onwards, the production returned to Suffolk and stayed there until the final episode. It remains a cautionary tale about the danger of cutting corners on a show whose entire identity was rooted in a very specific sense of place. Fact 9.
We thought it might be a good idea if...
Come on, out with it, out with it! What's he sent us?
Some fresh bamboo shoots.
By the time the show hit its stride in the early 1990s, Lovejoy was pulling in extraordinary numbers. At its peak, 18 million viewers were tuning in every Sunday night. It also found a massive audience in the United States, where it aired on the A&E network under the title The Lovejoy Mysteries. American viewers, many with fond wartime memories of East Anglia from the US air bases, took the show to their hearts. For a low-key BBC drama about an antiques dealer in Suffolk, those figures were remarkable by any measure. Fact 10.
You took a valuable antique to Belgium this week.
Yes, I did.
Tabled toilet.
One of the show's cleverest dynamics was the relationship between Lovejoy and his nemesis, rival antiques dealer Charlie Gimbert, played with magnificent cigar-chomping relish by Malcolm Tierney. Gimbert didn't just compete with Lovejoy for antiques. He actually owned the cottage that Lovejoy lived in, giving their rivalry a deeply uncomfortable personal edge. The fact that Lovejoy was renting from the man who despised him, while also conducting an affair with Gimbert's sister, made every scene between them crackle. It was a piece of character construction that gave the show a background hum of unresolved conflict running through the entire series. Fact 11. Lovejoys. Battered black Morris Minor convertible, affectionately named Miriam, became one of the most recognisable vehicles in British television history. Miriam had mismatched parts, visible rust holes, missing front windows and a habit of belching exhaust smoke at inconvenient moments. She broke down regularly and was completely impractical, which made her the perfect metaphor for Lovejoy himself. McShane once joked that Miriam had more character than most of the guest cast. The car became so beloved that fan letters were occasionally addressed to her directly, and her mechanical crises became running jokes that audiences looked forward to as much as the plots themselves. Fact 12.
I forget it, Tink. His mind's made up. Bev.
Your manners, young lady. We have a guest.
It's not a guest, it's Tinker, and I can say what I like to him.
During the 5th and 6th series, a young actress named Diane Parrish joined the cast as Lovejoy's new apprentice, Beth Taylor. Parrish was largely unknown at the time, but she would go on to become one of the most recognisable faces in British television as Denise Fox in EastEnders, a role she has held since 2007. Her time on Lovejoy came at the very beginning of her career, and looking back at those episodes, it's easy to see the charisma and timing that would eventually make her a household name. It's the kind of casting coincidence that Lovejoy fans love to point out to anyone who will listen. Fact 13.
Lovejoy, what are you doing?
These stockings once graced the legs of Queen Victoria, made for and worn by the British monarchy. You remember the fairy tale?
Ian McShane was always refreshingly candid about what the show was really about. Despite Lovejoy's constant romantic entanglements with Lady Jane, Charlotte and various others, McShane insisted that the love interests were essentially a red herring. His view was that the real passion driving the character was his relationship with antiques themselves. McShane told one interviewer directly, "The greatest experience Lovejoy has is when he sees a rare antique. That is when his heart really misses a beat, and without that, the show would not exist." That insight explains why the series worked so well. The antiques gave Lovejoy genuine depth and obsession, making him far more interesting than a straightforward romantic lead could ever have been. Fact 14.
It's a little longer, possibly. Don't you like it?
Oh, yeah, but I liked it the way it was before.
I'll give you a call.
The final episode of Lovejoy is one of the most bittersweet endings in British television comedy drama. Lovejoy was finally about to marry Charlotte. Lady Jane and Eric had both returned for the occasion, and it looked for all the world like a triumphant reunion. Then Lovejoy was kidnapped by an old enemy. Charlotte assumed he had abandoned her and walked away without waiting for an explanation. And the show ended with every relationship in limbo. No resolution, no happy ending, no closure. It was a bold, almost perverse choice that left audiences stunned, and still talking about it decades later. Whether it was a deliberate artistic decision or simply the result of the show being cancelled before the writers had time to wrap things up properly remains, appropriately enough, a mystery. Fact 15.
Lovejoy?
Oh, I've got to drive, Charlie.
Oh, rubbish. Anyway, I want to hear how you're getting on with that search for my books.
McShane has always said he would not reprise the role himself, but he has never entirely closed the door on the show, returning in some form. In a recent interview with The Guardian, the now 81-year-old said people had forever been talking about bringing Lovejoy back, and that he had a 4-word solution that would guarantee its success. Those 4 words, which he gave away for free, were simply, "Make it a woman." Given the show's devoted following and the enduring appeal of the antiques world, it's an idea many fans think deserves serious consideration. Until then, the original series remains one of the most distinctive dramas the BBC has ever produced.